The world of cognitive analytics. So I think if I say these three speakers and our guest of honor, I have already set the context. What is an objective of this particular conclave? The objective is to give the right guidance to the young aspirants who are looking for building their education and career in the exciting field of analytics and the world of data science. So that is where we have called all these eminent people across the globe to give you or enlighten you on the knowledge and what are the skill sets required in this particular exciting field. Now again, last but not the least, we also have Mr. Prakash, who is our alumni, who will tell you what are the various roles and how one has to build the knowledge and skills and what is the right type of education required to build a career in the field of analytics. Now we also have special invitee Mr. Sriram, who will conclude the session by his concluding remark, because Mr. Sriram sir has been the senior most HR person in one of the world leading IT organization, that is from Cognizant. So he will tell from HR perspective what are the skill sets which are required to build a career in this exciting field. Now I am sure you are looking forward to listening to all these speakers. So I would like to conclude this setting the context and welcome address with this, and once again I welcome all of you to the conclave and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now may I invite our guest of honor, Professor Matthew Boss, to give opening remarks. Professor Matthew Boss is Associate Director of Software Engineering Professional Programs for Corporate, Carnegie Mellon University, USA, which is one of the topmost university in the world. So, Matthew Boss has been practicing software engineering for more than 15 years, so working with Fortune 500 companies across a variety of industry domains. Sir?
Thank you. I think my wife is going to believe that anyone used the word eminent and dignitary in the same context as my name unless I have evidence somehow. So if I could get a copy of the tape, that would be great. So let me just first say that data analytics is not my field of expertise, and so I'm here just to give you a few opening remarks, and then I'll turn it over to the experts that will talk in much more detail about the topic. So I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that that we're in the midst of a data revolution. Data has been used for business intelligence reasons for some time, so this isn't a new phenomenon. But the nature of the revolution has changed significantly. So if we go back a little bit and we look at organizations like Walmart, for example. So Walmart has been able to they've for a long time tracked information on every purchase that's made in every Walmart store globally for every customer that comes into Walmart. And this has given them a lot of insight into the nature of the customer, their buying habits, and they've been able to structure their business accordingly. So, for example, if we experience inclement weather, so in the last year we had a number of hurricanes in the U.S., Walmart knows what's going to happen in terms of the buying habits of customers as the weather changes. So does anyone have an idea about what people buy when a hurricane or a cyclone is coming at Walmart? Any guesses? What's that?
Bread.
I'm sorry?
Bread.
Bread? So actually they do buy food, but bread is not exactly the primary purchase. Any other guesses?
Sawing equipment for cutting the trees.
For cutting trees? So not so much. Not so much. So certainly things like flashlight and water, the sales increase. But it turns out that strawberry Pop-Tarts, for example, increases 7 times. So I don't know if you know what strawberry Pop-Tarts are. This is, we call it food in the United States. I think most people in the world would not consider it food. It's a junk food. But the #1 selling item when we have inclement weather, does anyone want to guess? Keep in mind it's the U.S.
Beer.
Beer, that's exactly right. So beer turns out to be the #1 selling item. Strawberry Pop-Tarts increases by 7-fold. They've had some other interesting insights. So they observed, and they observed this manually by watching video. They would observe single men wandering around Walmart, seemingly lost, looking for something. It was very strange behavior. And so they would do a little deeper investigation. And it turns out that what was happening was that the men were asked by their wives to babysit, and then were sent out to go buy diapers. And so they would buy diapers, and then while they were buying diapers, they would go and look for beer. And so they wander all over the store looking for beer. And so what Walmart did, if you go to any Walmart in the U.S. in any state that sells both diapers and beer, they co-locate the diapers and the beer next to each other. And this is to take advantage of some impulse buy. And as a result, they've been able to increase the volume of sales for beer. So those kinds of things have been happening for a while. This is not necessarily a new sort of technique that businesses are using, although Walmart is perhaps more advanced than most. But if we look at what's happened more recently with the advent of the World Wide Web, with IoT, and so forth, things have changed a lot. So if you look at new business models that have emerged, there are a number of things. So e-commerce, for example. We've moved from a brick-and-mortar retail environment to an online retail environment. So you might think that this is essentially a digital catalog. We've had companies like Sears for a long time, mail-order companies, that have been doing this sort of thing for a while. But it's allowed for these organizations to gain insight in a way that they're not able to do in a brick-and-mortar company. So now that organizations in an e-commerce environment are able to track your movement throughout the website. They understand what products you're looking at, how long you're spending at each web page, where you came from. So did you come from a Google search? Did you come from a social media campaign, and so forth? And they leverage that information in ways that we never considered before. So does anybody here have an Apple product?
Yeah.
A few people? So it turns out that the people who have an Apple product are willing to spend more for a similar product than the people who don't. And so what that means is that organizations might charge you more for the same service. So if you use private browsing when you're buying an airline ticket, you might notice that you get presented with a different price than if you don't have private browsing, particularly if you're using an Apple product. And so what's happening is the organizations in real time are collecting as much information about you as they can, and they're presenting the price in a different way. In fact, they might be presenting a different price to you. Sometimes they might mark it up and then offer a discount because perhaps people of your demographic are more likely to buy something if it's on sale. So they make it look like it's on sale. Perhaps they present a box for a coupon code, or perhaps they don't, because maybe you're the sort of person that won't purchase a product if you think there's a deal out there somewhere. There are many, many examples of this sort of thing. The volume of data that organizations are collecting is unprecedented. It's to the point where organizations are not able to make sense of the data. They're not able to process the data. And so this is why there are programs like this that are coming about. Did anyone read the article in New York Times maybe a month and a half back about salaries for predictive analytics, artificial intelligence? So there was an article. You might look it up. It's pretty interesting. It talks about PhDs in artificial intelligence in the U.S. starting salaries being between $300,000 and $500,000 a year, which is a lot. And with salaries of that sort, organizations are unable to afford people with the kinds of skills that these programs will impart. And so they're looking for retraining. They're looking for other alternatives to begin to make use of the data in a way that will allow them to compete. This is a skill set that is in incredibly short supply. This is why places like SSN are developing such programs. And so I'm going to stop now and turn it over to some of the experts that can talk in much more detail about these topics. I just want to say one other thing. In addition, and this may or may not be of interest to anyone, in addition to understanding how to extract meaning from the data, in order to, or understanding how to structure unstructured data and so forth, there's a need to build systems to be able to process larger volumes of data. And so one other thing that SSN is doing is they are working to make a program on the system side focused on designing systems that will support data, large volumes of data, large number of users that are massively distributed. And so this is something that you can look for in the next year or so being rolled out in the Chennai area so that we have a complementary set of programs. On the analytics side, how do you make sense of large volumes of data? And on the system side, how do you build the systems that will handle such volumes of data? And so with that, I want to thank Dr. Albal for inviting me to Chennai. So I've been coming here since 2008, and it's not only professionally interesting for me. At this point, it's really personally rewarding. So I really enjoy interacting with Dr. Albal and Siva Kumar and Dr. Arvindan and others at SSN. And it's a real pleasure. So last year was the first year that I didn't make it to Chennai, and I really missed the trip. So thank you for listening. Thank you for inviting me, and I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Professor. Invite Mr. Sameer Dhanrajani, the key speaker, #1 for the day. So he's a Chief Strategy Officer of Fractal Analytics. Mr. Sameer is a seasoned business analytics professional. Prior to Fractal, Mr. Sameer held leadership positions at Cognizant Technology Solutions as global leader for analytics and data sciences, and Fidelity National Financial as country head. Sir.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Okay. Professor Albal, thanks so much for inviting me over. And Sriram, there are very few people sometimes you associate with where you can't say no. And you're one of them. So, and I think over the next 25 minutes, what I would like to do is take an aspect into what's happening in the whole world of analytics and how the journey has been over the last 15 years. This entire practice area has gone through so much of revolution. There is a phase of what we say which has just ended, what we say the art of problem solving within analytics, and there is a phase which has started what we say the art of decision making. So I'll take these two aspects and dimensions as part of my overall narrative and try to kind of give examples what's happened in the art of problem solving and what's going to be in terms of the art of decision making. And both are different because the context is all about analytics and what it can do. Now, a quick peek into last 15 years of the journey of analytics, how it started. Very briefly, if I give that kind of a, I would say, analogy, what was MIS at some point of time getting consumed by the chief, I would say, chief executive officers or the CXOs got morphed into ERP, the functional data of departments business units coming together and giving that kind of, I would say, holistic appeal. Then the aspect of ERP got changed into a barrage of tools around business intelligence and data warehousing, MicroStrategy, Teradata, Cognos. These all came in but lacked insights. Then came the whole side of what we say, and I'll just keep on moving some of the slides. The whole advent of what you can do and what can happen in 60 seconds changed the whole aspect of analytics. And the reason is it's what we say the data deluge which started happening in terms of not only a stream of data, but drawing some insights out of it. And if I take that analogy in terms of analytics, and this is a usual car analogy what we use, on the left you see is more about what we say hindsight, on the right is the foresight, which is where what we say that traditionally the aspect of analytics has changed from just being using the traditional KPIs or MIS to kind of even, as if you take the car analogy in terms of GPS, where you just put in the location and the address and you reach that destination without even kind of saying, okay, I can trust this thing. And this is where we say the genre of analytics came in, post MIS to kind of ERP to business intelligence to data warehousing, where we say how descriptive to prescriptive analytics came into the picture. And the whole reason of this genre change was very essential in terms of saying that, look, at some level, data has to produce insights, and insights should give you a reason to solve the problems. And that's where I think this whole change, what we started, where we looked into, initially a lot of that consumption of analytics in terms of industries were happening through banking, insurance, retail organization. A lot of offbeat organizations, oil and gas, mining, shipping, they also started consuming analytics. And today we say it's agnostic in terms of every industry using that particular application. There's another aspect of what we say, and I was discussing over a sidebar conversation before we started this session. Moore's law in technology is something which is relevant. Every 18 months, there is an innate intent in the cycle of technologies to change. And that's happened very, very subtly. I'll give some of the very, I would say, quick but noticeable examples of what's happening within the industries as part of what we say the change or business transformation. Insurance, biggest game-changing industry. Drone can actually start assessing the whole insurance claim in few seconds by moving to the site of the crash, giving the insurance player enough data, visualization, images in quick few seconds, and where we say the claim can be processed in few seconds as opposed to what it takes kind of a few hours. Now, this is one industry where a lot of conservativeness happened in terms of usage of analytics, but with advent of new technologies, usage-based insurance changed the whole game. Retail, Matt gave some of the examples about what we say omni-channel, personalization. The moment you are entering the retail stores, you get coupons, you get those kind of a loyalty bonus points because they know you who you are, and that's all personalized for you only. The aspect about consumer packaged goods industry in terms of analytics, how it's getting consumed. Healthcare, patient data analytics is being kind of skimmed through for each and every patient in terms of how it can be leveraged with the insurance companies, with the healthcare providers as well. And this is a big game-changing moment where we say at some level the symptoms what you go through also get relevant treatment as part of the healthcare piece as well. Same for life sciences. Today we are talking about personalized drugs. Otsuka, one of the organization in pharmaceutical, has a drug which is patented by FDA, which is digital drug. What it does is to personalize bases the treatment what you want with the same element what you possess. And that's a big change which is happening in this whole piece. I'll just quickly skim through some of these examples because one of the things I think I'll stick to banking and financial services for a minute. I think this is one industry which is very largely regulated but has immense consumption of analytics. And we are talking about an industry where we are talking about very soon with the fintech disrupting the industry, a stream of what we say branchless banking. You don't need to visit the bank. We all know that today. But what's happening is that your entire credit scoring mechanism has also changed. What you see on Facebook, when you glance through LinkedIn, what you like, what you dislike, what you purchase on Amazon or let's say Flipkart is all being analyzed. Where banking professionals are trying to analyze your credit worthiness or lack of that through the measurement of data or your personalized behavior. And this is where we say the whole genesis of why this has happened is so much talked about today with the aspect of digital. Now, digital is again a very often used word, and it could be as naive as what we say wearing a Casio digital watch to as evolved as what we are saying that at some level it's not about what it is. It's also about what we say that every customer experience is getting enhanced through digital. So are we trying to reimagine the whole customer experience? Yes, that's one aspect of digital. The other aspect is that we all know competition is evolving. I mean, a lot of innovative product and services are required as part of what we say getting into a motion of slugfest with the competition or the players. So digital comes into the picture through innovative product and services. Because there's so much of intelligence which is now coming together in terms of devices talking to each other, individuals getting influence with the whole set of organizations talking about, okay, this is for you only and customized. The second aspect is, as Professor Matt also alluded, artificial intelligence. AI is the biggest game-changing thing today. What was, as I was saying, analytics at some point of time has really become sophisticated, and artificial intelligence has come into the picture. Last aspect of what we say decision-making enhancement is human behavior. Organizations today are consuming and evaluating human behavior like no time. I mean, they're talking about how do you simplify the consumption? How do you get into aspect of nudging or influencing the change in how we consume some of the products or even our behaviors as well. And I'll give some of the real life examples as well. And this is one coming from, as Professor Matt also said, that today, look at how earnings call or all these aspects about the financial results which are getting demonstrated by the companies every quarter. There's a lot of analytics and AI coming into the picture. And I'll give you an example. Very recent Infosys board meeting, or quarterly rather, earnings call was analyzed by a lot of analytics professionals. What they did when Mr. Sikka, the erstwhile CEO of Infi, walked in, from that aspect till the board meeting got over, everything was analyzed in terms of speech, in terms of behavior, in terms of any kind of, let's say, image. So analytics companies were trying to look in terms of beyond the data, how the whole emotions on that particular day were exuded by Mr. Sikka, how his voice modulated or got changed in terms of the numbers he was trying to speak. But there was also one aspect, what was getting analyzed, of looking at a CFO who was sitting down towards the podium. If he's having a poker-faced look all the time or lump in the throat, that means there's something wrong with the data or the results what they're talking about. That is the extent of what we say change of intelligence, measurement or assessment which is going on through the usage of analytics. Other example, what you see on the right, where you see a set of cars parked. This is nothing but an actual shot of a satellite image being captured by a set of retailers who are trying to predict the results, or the quarterly results for that particular retail chain basis the cars getting parked or the quantum of cars getting parked on any given day. So the usual measurement of what we say footfalls is now getting replaced in terms of looking at the density of parking for a retail kind of a company in their parking lots. So that's the, I would say, measurement change which has happened in terms of intelligence. A bright example, and this is where what we say how the usage of even analytics, intelligence, is benefiting the humanity as well. What you see on the right is a gentleman called Saqib Sheikh from Pakistan, settled in US for quite some time, and he's perpetually blind. And what Microsoft did for him is revolutionary. He's carrying what you see, or rather he's wearing those glasses, which is fine, but the glasses have capability to take every second images which is happening when he starts walking, which means if he's walking 10 meters from now and what you see is an actual shot, he can actually see pictures getting clicked, which is fine, but the pictures are now then